The War of 1812 is that war everyone's heard of, but almost nobody actually knows anything about this. It's often called America's Second War of Independence. But honestly, it was weirder, more chaotic, and way more shocking than your history teacher ever let on. Today, we're diving into 7 mind-blowing facts about the War of 1812 that will completely change how you see this forgotten conflict. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for number 1. It's a bombshell that redefines the entire outcome of the war. Let's start with number 7. The White House was burned down by the British, partly as revenge for fast food. Okay, not exactly fast food, but close enough. Before the British torched Washington, D.C. in 1814, American forces had sacked and burned York, which is modern-day Toronto, the capital of Upper Canada. During this raid, American soldiers didn't just burn government buildings, they also stole the town's printing press and, get this, a scalp that was allegedly found hanging in the Parliament building. But the real insult, they also looted a portable soup kitchen owned by the British governor. When the British retaliated by burning Washington, it was payback. They ate a feast prepared for the American president, James Madison, right before setting the White House ablaze. Imagine being so salty about your stolen soup kitchen that you burned down the enemy's capital. That's some next-level culinary rage. Moving on to number 6. The war created 2 future U.S. presidents and made one a rock star. Andrew Jackson, Old Hickory, became a national hero after his stunning victory at the Battle of New Orleans. This battle catapulted him into the political stratosphere, eventually leading to his presidency. The other future president was William Henry Harrison, who gained fame for his victory at the Battle of the Thames. But Jackson's fame was on another level. His reputation as a tough, decisive military leader became his entire brand. Songs were written about him. His portrait was everywhere. He was the 19th century equivalent of an action movie star, all thanks to a single, albeit massive, battle. It just shows how a moment of military glory can forge a political dynasty. Now for number 5, and this one is a bit dark. Both sides used child soldiers. It's a shocking reality of warfare in this era. Boys as young as 10 or 12 served in the armies and navies of both the United States and Great Britain. They weren't just water carriers or drummers. They were on the front lines. Into navies, these boys were known as powder monkeys, and their job was to run gunpowder cartridges from the ship's magazine to the cannons during battle. It was incredibly dangerous work, surrounded by explosions, splinters, and chaos. On land, young boys served as buglers or messengers, but many also carried muskets and fought alongside grown men. It's a sobering reminder that the romanticized image of war often hides a much grimmer, more tragic reality. Coming in at number 4. America's biggest victory happened after the peace treaty was signed. You heard that right? The epic Battle of New Orleans, the one that made Andrew Jackson a superstar, took place on January 8th, 1815. The Treaty of Ghent, which officially ended the war, had been signed weeks earlier on Christmas Eve, 1824, all the way over in Belgium. News traveled incredibly slowly back then. It took a ship about 6 weeks to cross the Atlantic. So while diplomats were shaking hands and declaring peace, thousands of soldiers were preparing for the bloodiest battle of the war. Over 2,000 British soldiers were killed, wounded, or captured, compared to just a handful of American casualties. It was a massive, decisive American victory that had absolutely no impact on the outcome of the war. But it had a huge impact on American morale and national pride. Let's get to number 3. Canada actually burned down the White House. Well, kind of. This is a favorite piece of Canadian trivia, and while it's a bit of an oversimplification, there's truth to it. The British forces that attacked and burned Washington, D.C. were indeed composed of British regulars. However, the wider war effort on the British side heavily involved Canadian militia and Indigenous allies. The raid on Washington was direct retaliation for the American burning of York, the capital of Upper Canada. So, while it wasn't a Canadian army acting independently, the action was fundamentally tied to the defense of Canadian territory and in response to American aggression there. Canadians see it as a point of pride, a symbol of their successful defense against American invasion. So, next time you're in Canada, you might hear a friendly jab about them burning down your capital. Halfway there, and it only gets crazier. Number 2. The US national anthem was written while the author was being held prisoner on a British ship. We also know the Star-Spangled Banner, but the story behind it is insane. Francis Scott Key, a 35-year-old lawyer, had boarded a British flagship to negotiate the release of an American prisoner. The British agreed but wouldn't let Key and his companions leave because they had overheard plans for the upcoming attack on Baltimore. So, Key was forced to watch the entire 25-hour bombardment of Fort McHenry from a British vessel. As the sun rose on September 14, 1814, he saw the massive American flag, the Star-Spangled Banner, still flying defiantly over the fort. He was so moved that he started scribbling the lyrics to a poem on the back of a letter he had in his pocket. That poem, originally titled The Defense of Fort McHenry, was later set to the tune of a popular British drinking song and eventually became the US national anthem. He wrote a tribute to American freedom while literally being a captive of the enemy. And now, the #1 most shocking fact about the War of 1812. The fact that changes everything. Are you ready for this? Nobody really won. Seriously. After all the battles, the invasions, the burning cities, and thousands of lives lost, the Treaty of Ghent essentially just hit the reset button. The treaty returned all conquered territory to its original owner. It didn't resolve the main issues that started the war, like the British impressment of American sailors or trade restrictions. It was basically a formal agreement to stop fighting. So, who won? You could argue Britain won by successfully defending Canada and stopping American expansion. You could argue the US won because the war fostered a powerful sense of national identity, unity, and the confidence that they could stand up to a global superpower. Native American nations, however, were the undisputed losers, as they lost a key ally in Britain and faced relentless American expansion afterward. The War of 1812 is the perfect example of how a war's legacy is far more complicated than just a simple tally of wins and losses. It's a story of unintended consequences, national identity, and the messy, chaotic birth of a nation. So, there you have it. 7 facts that prove the War of 1812 was anything but boring. Which one shocked you the most? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching HistorYo, where we make history unforgettable. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive. See you in the next video.